Alright, so that was the Camden Revolutionary inside part of the museum. Didn't get any commentary in there because it was very quiet and very echo, echo. And so I didn't see much in there. I don't think I said anything in there. It was just super quiet and everything was echoing in there. So, in respect to everybody else that was in there, just kept it quiet. But we got some outbuildings to check out. Pretty cool. Very high ceilings. A couple of fireplaces. It's a pretty neat little stop gas. So, so it is July 2nd, 2026. And we're making the rounds through some Revolutionary War sites for this 250th anniversary of our independence. And Camden, South Carolina is stop number one. We're going to check this place out a little bit more and see where we go from there. All right, so we made it out of the museum and we moved on. There was things going on there at the museum lot, so we had to move on. But we are at the Camden Battlefield itself. If you know, you know, a big patriot loss, a hero general that fled, but set the events of things to come like a domino effect. Gates out, and Nathaniel Green is in. All right, so once again, the Camden Battlefield, a bus we got there as a tour group was going in. Thought about crashing it, but I didn't. We moved up the road, maybe 15 minutes up the road. This is Hanging Rock Battlefield. Hanging Rock Battlefield was a win for the Patriots. This was also the first time I believe that a very important person had his first dealings himself with the Revolutionary War. Later became our 7th president, a very young 13-year-old Andrew Jackson was here at this battle. Him and his brother, I believe, I read that they were couriers, and they were here when the battle had happened. And this was a win for the Patriot side. All right, everybody, we're at another location. Welcome to Waxhaw's Battlefield, also known as Buford's Massacre. This battle was over before it even started. Buford's guys was offered to surrender at one point, told Tarleton pretty much to go to hell. Tarleton charged Buford's guys even while they were trying to surrender. Then Tarleton earned his nickname, the Butcher, from this battlefield. Buford's force was about 350. 113 of them were killed, 53 were captured, and a few were able to escape on horseback. The battle length took about all but 15 minutes. It was done and over with. But this battle was remembered at another battle at Kings Mountain. And we will be there in just a couple of days. I forgot my fuzzy mic in my pocket, so if it was a little muffled, sorry about that. I'll tell you again, 96, National Historic Site. 2 different battles, like I said. First battle, early, mid 1777, I think. First battle. First South Carolina gained us independence, life for independence. First South Carolina was killed here in the first battle. Second battle, like I said, Nathaniel Greene was in charge of this battle. Longest battle in the entire Revolutionary War. This battle lasting 28 days. Going uphill. Look back. So after 28 days, Nathaniel Greene had to give up. Nathaniel Greene had to give up fear of Cornwallis gathering troops and coming back, so he abandoned the battlefield. And later on, the British had no use for this battlefield anymore, so they burnt it to the ground. It's the earthworks for the Star Fort. This is the inside of the Star Fort. Cannon positions that would have fired upon Nathaniel Greene's troops over the hill towards the rifle tower. Of course, there would have been wooden structures up along the ridges of the Star Fort, and there would be like spears along the outside of the ridge, maybe 8 to 10 feet long, I'm guessing, and about 3 inches thick, and about every 3 inches apart for protection of the fort. So this is the famous Star Fort at the historic 96 National Historic Site in 96, South Carolina. So this is where the trench would have ran along to the fort. To their stockade town. There would have been a trench there they would have ran through for protection or cover the British side. And there's the entire battlefield from the Star Fort all the way where Nathaniel Greene would have made his entrance onto the battlefield, over where the rifle tower is at. And that is the historic 96 battlefield. So you ask, 96 is 96 South Carolina. Sounds like kind of a strange name. And people wonder where the name 96 comes from. The thing is, it was a trading post before the Revolutionary War, and fur traders and the Cherokee village would come this way, thinking that was about 96 miles to get here, and the name just stuck, and it's just always been called 96 since then. Historic Charleston Road. So I'm assuming this is the way the British made their way. The 96 here was, right now it's mowed, but I'm guessing it was a wagon path, wide enough for wagons from Charleston to get to here. And Nathaniel Greene gave up after 98 days, fearing that Cornwallis would reinforce the troops here at 96. So the way that they would have came from Charleston was through this path here. Liking the video so far, I appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you want to see more historical sites and filming locations, usually from a campground, and I try to travel within 2 miles of a campground, find some place interesting to visit. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. And there's more to come. I got Kings Mountain today, which is July 3rd. Tomorrow's July 4th, and we're headed to Cowpens tomorrow. A little bit of up climb. They're about to huff and puffing. I just went up a steep hill. Where the British quartered, I'm guessing. British flag would have been there. It just came from down there. Slots for rifles. All right, this is a marker for the first South Carolinian that was killed in the Revolutionary War in the first battle. Savage Fields was the first battle, and this was the first person that had passed away in that battle. First South Carolinian that fell during the Revolutionary War. So you can say thank you for your service to this man right here. And I had to get here so I could get this part stamp in the book before they lock the gates up, because we got other things to do. Tomorrow is Cowpens for the 4th of July. That's going to be a big deal. So let's go check out the visitor center and get our stamp and passport book. Kings Mountain stamps are in the book. It is very dark, so I don't know how this will come out on video.
This large lit mural depicts a 1.5-story cabin. Long brown horizontal logs, rough hewn and separated with tan mud chinking between them. A forlorn looking woman in a petticoat and bed jacket of linen cloth and white cap on her head stands at the doorway, holding a young boy in her arms. This exhibit is entitled The British Army's Southern Campaign. Before you is a life-sized background battle scene of a dozen riflemen in drab farm clothes and shrouded in smoke, crouched and firing to the right. Portraits of 3 British commanders are on the left and 3 Patriot commanders on the right. The British commanders feature small oval-framed paintings of British Major General Charles Cornwallis, commanding officer, British forces in the South; Major Patrick Ferguson, Inspector of Militia, British Army; and Lieutenant Colonel Bannister Tarleton, commanding officer, British Legion, British Army. Above them is a quote from Cornwallis, which reads, "It may be doubted by some whether the invasion of North Carolina may be a prudent measure, but I am convinced it is a necessary one, and that if we do not attack that province, we must give up both South Carolina and Georgia." The 3 Patriot commanders on the right feature similar oval portraits of Major General Benjamin Lincoln, commanding officer American Forces, Charleston, South Carolina; Major General Horatio Gates, commanding officer, American Forces in the South after the fall of Charleston; and Major General Nathaniel Greene, commanding officer of the Southern Army in October 1780. Through the winter of 1780-81, he pulled together the scattered and demoralized troops left in the South and devised a plan against British commander Lord Cornwallis. Greene's motto was, "We fight, get beat, rise and fight again." Above the three portraits is a quotation from General Greene, which reads, "Until a more permanent army can be collected than is in the field at present, we must endeavor to keep up a partisan war and preserve the tide of sentiment among the people as much as possible in our favor." The next voice you hear is that of a commander of the Patriot forces. As Southern patriots, we have long realized that controlling the Southern states would begin putting in place a barrier against the British advance on the South. When their troops At this exhibit, you're greeted by a large illustration, some 8 feet high and 14 feet around, titled Over Mountain Campaign. Just a few feet in from the left is depicted a weary over mountain man, mounted on a brown steed, with a bedroll, a pouch, and other gear packed over the animal's rear. In a display case just outside the tree are a variety of artifacts from the battle. An over mountain man now shares the story of his march to King's Mountain. "I may be tired after a rugged mountain crossing, but even so, I am more determined than ever to rout every British loyalist. After the Battle of Camden, South Carolina, good patriot militiamen and kinsmen fled in our direction, over mountain into our lands. We took them into our communities and gave them shelter. Needless to say, the British were displeased." This large illustration is titled Patriot Militia. It shows three men fighting from different stances protected by a tree. One of these men is braced against a gnarled tree trunk, aiming his rifle to the right. At the left are two illustrations of other men. In front, a man in a tan hunting frock fires his flintlock to the right. Behind him, to the left, a man in a long blue coat leans to his left, holding a rifle at the ready. Each man has a scrap of white paper or cloth in his hat, identifying them as members of the Patriot troops. "I'm an enlisted man, fighting with the American Patriots from the North Carolina Piedmont. It's a plateau region, nestled against the mountains to our west. It's home to your farms, your families, your purposes."
Roosevelt was here, gave a speech.
first British officer, Brigadier General Charles O'Hara, was looking up at him. At the right, a long line of American foot soldiers recedes into the background along the road as it makes a gradual curve to the left. Above these patriots, an American Revolutionary flag billows in a sky of black clouds tinged with fiery red edges. Mounted on a dark steed next to this flag, General George Washington, tall and erect, his officer's uniform. On the left side of the painting, a white flag with gold tassels flies above three ranks of black-coated horsemen. The steeds paw the red earth. An overturned cannon sprawls at the side of the road. As shown in the following animated maps, troop movements after the Battle of Kings Mountain began pushing the British northward from South Carolina and North Carolina. October 1780. Greene takes over from Gates at Hillsborough, North Carolina. Cornwallis moves south for the winter from Charlotte, North Carolina to Winnsboro, South Carolina. In 1781, British General Cornwallis was encamped at Winnsboro, South Carolina. Meanwhile, Tarleton moved his troops from Winnsboro northwest to Cowpens, near the border with North Carolina. Meanwhile, in January 1781, American troops under Morgan and Greene left their encampments at Charlotte, North Carolina, moving into South Carolina. Greene to high hills of Santee, and Morgan to Cowpens, where the Battle of Cowpens ensued. February and March of 1781. Morgan moves from Cowpens north toward Virginia, and on the way, unites with Greene near Salem, North Carolina. This large illustration bears the title Royal Provincials and Loyalist Militia. Depicted are provincial regular, uniform, and civilian loyalist outfit. On the far left, a loyalist militiaman wears a brown coat over his faded light blue waistcoat. He holds a musket at his waist in both hands and scowls directly at us from under a black tricorn hat. His grizzled face is thin and haggard. At the Loyalist's right, a Royal Provincial soldier wears long white trousers, stained on the left knee, a red jacket trimmed in blue, and a cocked hat. He is aiming a bayoneted musket. The Provincials were the only Loyalist troops dressed in the traditional red coats at Kings Mountain. Of the bayonet, we learn that its triangular shape and dull edges made bayonet wounds hard to treat. Above this figure appears a small reprint of a New York newspaper advertisement offering a $20 bounty for 2 years' service to His Majesty in the Loyal American Regiment. Between these two figures is the small portrait of Lieutenant Anthony Allaire and another oval portrait of Captain Abraham de Peyster, commander of the Royal Provincials of New York and New Jersey.
I'm an enlisted man, loyal to the Crown of England. There has been such hatred between the Loyalists and the rebels of this state that the situation has become deplorable. Each seems determined to rid the countryside of the other. We have been so harassed and abused by the rebels that the coming of the British forces offers us a chance for liberation.
Alright, so there was a slight change of plans. We're at Cowpens National Battlefield Park today on July 3rd instead of waiting till the 4th. They're about to close, so it's time to move on. It wasn't everything I was going to see and show. Now, if you know Cowpens Battlefield, this was the turning point of the whole Southern campaign. Retreat. Tarleton retreated. Eventually, Nathaniel Greene and Washington backed up. Washington back up to Yorktown, where eventually Cornwallis finally surrendered. Not himself. He sent some flunky to do it for him because he was ashamed, so proud. Anyways, Cowpens National Park, heat advisory. It's not enough time to do the loop. But we made it. We got our stamp. Wasn't exactly on July 4th, but start heading back towards Atlanta via back roads and see if we can see some stuff on the way down, and then maybe catch a waterfall through North Carolina, take some back roads and see what we can see. Cowpens National Battlefield.